Well, I can't tell if I'm on live or not because Mevo, which unfortunately rhymes with Devo, is a lousy video streaming program. It sucks. But it's the only one I got. So I'm going to prematurely drop the facade and say, hey guys, it's me, Malcolm Tent, back after almost a month with this brand new, all fresh, all styling episode of Tent Talks Tunes. But I'm going to have to reach over and look at my computerized thinking machine and make sure that I am indeed live. See, it's just like the old days. You get to get a nice close-up view of... excuse me, me sneezing. How's that for awesome live television? In the great tradition of local cable TV. You get to see me lean over, you get a real good close-up of my forehead and what little I have left of my hairline. Looks like I'm on, I can't tell. Alan and Mike, okay, Alan and Mike are tuned in and they apparently see me and they're giving me greetings. Yes, one welcome back and one hello. Well, hello, hello, hello. I am here. Excuse me, as usual, against many odds, possibly all odds, I am here. Let's see, Lacey Calandrino says, Gesundheit, thank you. Thank you, Lacey. Thank you for the good wishes for my health. James Pogo knew exactly what that was. Amy Lynn Myers is here. Terry Myers is here. We are working on a full house. Bob Eaton says I got some crumbs in my beard. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at all. I think it's actually headphone foam crumbs. I have a pair of really good headphones that I like when I'm doing audio editing, but the ear pads are crumbling into dust. So I put on the headphones. I get a face covered in black, some kind of weird space-age polyester polymer crumbs. Do I look better now? Got all the crumbs out of the Van Dyke. I got any no toothpaste on my mouth or anything. No boogers hanging out of my nose. No nose hairs. Everything groovy, I hope. Okay. So yeah, man. What do you think? What do you think about these village people? I might not have been on the air for the last almost month, but I have been extremely busy. Let me tell you, busy, busy, busy. Woo! Bob Eaton says he was joking. Well, that's a very cruel and unusual thing to do to a guy who's live on the Facebook, having to cope with these non-existent fires, putting them out to no avail, because there weren't none. And that moment is going to be preserved forever on my YouTube channel, and preserved forever on the Facebook, on my page. Thanks, Bob. Thank you very much. As Bob Dylan would say, as good as I've been to you. We'll just leave it at that. But hey, it's all good, clean fun. Not as good, maybe not as clean as these guys, but definitely fun. So, Lord have mercy, what have I been up to the last month almost? Well, first and foremost, longtime recidivist viewers of Tent Talks Tunes will probably notice that my backdrop is not my normal backdrop. What you see is kind of an uninteresting wall and some really dull-looking wood paneling and stack of cassette decks and a few boxes of CDs. What you're looking at here is actually almost the entire contents of my home right now. If you were to set foot out of the Tent Talks Tunes studios and go into the living room, you will find nothing. You will find an empty room. If you make a left and go into the first bedroom, you will find, you guessed it, nothing. An empty room. Go into the next bedroom. A giant gaping void where once there was my music equipment room where I would stage all my gear for gigs. Nothing there. Gone. Nothing but an echo. If you go into the kitchen, you won't find much. You will find some food. You'll find some canned goods. You'll find a couple of boxes of things. There's some stuff in the fridge. But that's it. Ain't nothing here, kids. The kitchen is just subsistence chow, and the office is just enough to keep the TPOS label mail order running. All the regular inventory, gone. It's in a storage unit somewhere. The famous red, white, and blue bicentennial sofa, gone. It belongs to somebody now. My library, everything, gone. Packed up in storage, waiting for this house to sell. And that has been the 800,000-pound gorilla in my life for the past several months, but even more crucially, the past month. Because the house is officially on the market. It is for sale. And we've been showing it and basically just waiting for someone to say, oh my God, I love this place. I love the vaulted ceiling. I love the stone fireplace. I love the coziness. I love the green, bucolic, rural surroundings. This is the house I want to buy. This is the place that Malcolm Tent loved for the 11 years he lived here. This is the place where I want to be for at least 11 more years. At least. I'm waiting for somebody to sign on a piece of paper that will commit them to that, sign a check, give it to me, and then I will take everything that surrounds me, which you can't see, but I'm telling you guys, it ain't much. The idea is to fit everything that I have in this house, everything in the office, in the kitchen, into my minivan, and I was gone. Down the road to North Carolina, hey, baby, where my future does await me, where my destiny lies. Over the past few weeks, I had a number of people reach out to me and say, hey, man, is everything okay down there? And I'm happy to report that everything in the vicinity that I'm looking at and where my girl Chrissy lives is okay. And I thank you all for asking and for showing the concern. My search for a home is centered around the city of Hickory, and Hickory is about 90 minutes due east of where all that bad weather and disaster struck. So the Hickory area got a lot of rain, some downed wood, some downed trees, but that's really about it. Hickory's fine, we're fine. It's the folks in the western part of the state that really got hit hard and really need help. So, excuse me, I can't testify to this in a court of law, but I believe if you look on Jeff Clayton's Facebook page, Jeff being my boss man in the almighty anti-scene, I think he's got some links for aid societies. One of them based around his church, and maybe a couple others. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you might want to go down there and take a look and see if there's anything you want to donate and help those folks out, because it's quite a scene, apparently. Quite a thing, and there's a lot of work being done over there, but a lot of work has to be done. So, as they say in the biz, every little bit helps. John Murray wants to know if I am moving the stove again. No. Hard no on that one, brother. I didn't even do any work in moving the, I think it was 600-pound cast iron stove. I didn't do anything except stand around and watch. John Murray did the hard lifting, and I do mean hard lifting, and I got tired. I got fairly exhausted, and I think I pulled my back just watching. Oy. So, yeah, the stove is history. Done with the stove. Thank you very much. Good night. Do you think any of these guys could move that stove? I don't think so. So yeah, I keep waving this Village People record around, and that's another part of the reason that I have been absent for these past few weeks. Besides the gung-ho rigmarole of moving the house, I've also been on the road with, you guessed it, the almighty anti-scene. Not on the road so much. We rehearsed. We had some really good long rehearsals. last weekend for our upcoming run of shows in Texas and Louisiana. Oh, yes. Halloween weekend in Texas and Louisiana. It's going to be good, kids. It's going to be real good. We have a brand new set put together full of juicy, raw, bloody hits from our new album, Great Disasters. Plenty of old favorites and lots of Halloween-themed music. So if you're in the towns of Lafayette, and that is the way they pronounce it in Louisiana, Lafayette, Shreveport, Austin, or San Antonio on the nights of October 30th, 31st, 29th, and November 1st, you will have your chance to catch some live anti-scene action with the Ultra lineup. And we do fully intend to A, kick ass, B, take names. Will we kick as much ass as these guys? Maybe. Maybe. Will we take as many names as these guys? One can only hope. One can only hope. My compadre Walt Wheat just said, yes, this is the longest set list that Anti-Scene has compiled since the double epic 40th anniversary show almost exactly a year ago. Today-ish, whatever. Yeah, long-ass set. I don't know if we're going to be playing every single song every night, but we're playing a lot of songs on this run. And that's one reason why I love this band so much. There is no stagnation. Anti-Scene does not rest on its laurels. Anti-Scene is not a pond covered with green film. We are a turbulent, charting body of Walta. There's always something going on. There are always new ideas, new releases, new projects. When we play, we always have this incredible back catalog to choose from, along with new stuff from our recent works that we stand behind. So yeah, you'll be getting a fine, fair balance of all of that this last weekend of this month in Texas, Louisiana. Go to the Anti-Scene official Facebook page or antiscene.com or my page or the Jeff Clayton page or Walt Wheat's page. Dude, if you miss this Halloween weekend spectacular with the almighty Anti-Scene, I gotta tell you right now, it's not our fault. The fault lies somewhere in the direction that I am pointing. Just saying. So yes, road work, moving the house, this so-called real world stuff has been kicking me from one end of the gridiron to the other. But as usual, what can I tell you? I'm not defeated. I just was not able to devote time to Tent Talks Tunes over the past few weeks. But I'm here tonight. I fully expect that I will be here next week. And then I will be on the road again with Anti-Scene. And immediately after that, check this out. We're playing our last gig in Louisiana on, let me get the visual aid here, just to let you know what kind of a life I lead. Let me get my calendar over here. And it's a weird thing, living in an empty house. There's nowhere to put anything. So I've got all my visual props just kind of, like, literally just piled on top of each other. Theoretically within easy reach, but still difficult to get to because they're all piled up. Okay, here's my schedule for the end of this month. And this is the official schedule. Anti-Scene plays Shreveport, Louisiana, October 30th. Austin, Texas, Halloween night. San Antonio, Texas, November 1st. Lafayette, Louisiana, Saturday the 2nd. Sunday the 3rd is a travel day. And then Monday the 4th, I am playing a solo gig with my good pal Tim Holhouse from England. We are playing in Athens, Georgia on the 4th. On the 5th, we are playing in Wilmington, North Carolina. And on the 6th, we are playing in none other than Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's 4 nights in a row with Anti-Scene, 1 day to travel, and then 3 nights in a row doing the solo acoustic thing with my good pal Tim Holhouse. So that's 7 nights of rock and roll in 8 nights over the course of Texas, Louisiana, North Carolina, and Georgia, with travel in all points in between. So because of that, I will be missing another 2 weeks of Tent Talks Tunes. But after that, we're in mid-November and the calendar is pretty much completely empty. Except, of course, for the Danbury Record Show, the Danbury Record and CD Expo, November 23rd. Normally, if I had a flyer, I would show it to you. If I had my backdrop, it would be pinned up to the bulletin board, but it's not. So you just got to take my word for it, kids. Danbury Record and CD Expo, November 23rd, with a room full of record dealers selling really cool stuff. I will have a table set up of all TPOS merch. The Village People record is not up for grabs. I am keeping this for myself. Now, James Pogo recognized this Village People record. He correctly identified what is perhaps the best song on the entire album, and that is Food Fight. Yes, from the New Wave era Village People, 1981, I believe this was. Album bombed. It sold very few copies, which is a low down dirty shame, because this is a real sort of new wave, let's say, semi-classic. Semi-classic. I love, see, Andy Miller just chimed in, Food Fight. It's a hit. Last song on side 2. It's the last of a 3-song suite of songs. Big Mac, Diet, and then Food Fight. A real conceptual, thematic masterpiece on this, the Village People Renaissance album, which probably should have been called the Village People Die a Quick Death album, which is not because it's not because it's not a great album. It is a great album. It just nobody wanted a bunch of Village People who look like that. I wasn't too sure myself if I wanted a bunch of Village People who look like that. Did anybody see these guys when they were on The Tomorrow Show in 1981 with the great Tom Snyder? I saw it when it was broadcast. Brian Swirsky, he said it again, Food Fight. Yeah, Food Fight. And Andy Miller says that it is their best album with an LOL. I think Cruisin' is their best album. This might be their second best album. And Andy Miller, if you want to debate the point in person, come out to my solo gig in Wilmington, or maybe come to the Anti-Scene show in Charlotte on December 7th, and we will have a lively and spirited debate over the merits of the Village People Renaissance versus Village People Cruisin'. I guess you could consider that a public challenge. This is just one of the many, many, many records I picked up in my travels going to North Carolina and back to Connecticut. Love this album. If anybody wanted to, you know what? If somebody wanted to buy this from me, I would sell it to them. Consider it for sale. If you really want to know what this album's all about and you want to own it for yourself, talk to me. I'll hook it up to you. I'll hook you up with it. Cheap. Cheap. All right, Andy Miller has accepted the challenge. He says he's probably going to see me in Charlotte at the Milestone December 7th. So if you see Andy Miller there and you see me there, everybody is welcome to gather round, because we are going to go point for point, merit for merit, song for song, Village People Renaissance versus the Village People Cruisin'. Everybody knows now it's going to happen. What other records did I pick up while I was out on the road? Well, here's one I got. It's kind of my mission to turn people onto this record, because nobody seems to love this record, except the real hardcore cognoscenti. And I will drink a slug of Danbury tap water to this. Yes, it's still Danbury tap, guys. I haven't switched water services yet. The real cognoscenti understand this record, know what a great record it is, but this record gets no love, and it should get a lot of love, and I'm talking about Good Singing, Good Playing by Grand Funk Railroad. This album rules. Produced by Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa plays lead guitar on at least one track. On at least one track. I think, quite honestly, that Zappa plays lead guitar on more than one track on this album. Either that or Mark Farner suddenly really shifted his lead guitar playing style to sound a lot like Frank Zappa. And I asked my main man, Scott Parker, from Waterbury, Connecticut, who is the author of numerous deep dive Zappa books. I mean, this is a guy who will pick a single album about Frank Zappa, or a single Frank Zappa album, and write an entire book about it. Going into the making of it, the personnel, the writing, the production, the stories behind the songs. I mean, this dude does exhaustive work when it comes to Zappa. And I said, Scott Parker, do you think that Frank Zappa played more lead on this album than is commonly accepted? He said, I don't know. I think it's true. Now, Andy Miller, Andy Miller and I, we're getting into it now. Andy Miller and I are becoming sort of adversarial. Andy Miller says that Good Singing, Good Playing by Grand Funk is a decent album. I say it's one of their best. One of their best. And not only that, check this out. Note that there are some similarities in the cover designs of Good Singing, Good Playing and Renaissance. Tell me it isn't so. Tell me it ain't true. I think there's something going on here. Some of you people might believe in coincidence. I'm not sure I believe in coincidence. Andy Miller, we are going to debate these issues. Anyway, this album completely rules. You never would have guessed that they basically broke up 3 or 4 times during the recording of it. It's just good singing, good playing, good writing, weird production, very strange production. Zappa put an odd sonic sheen to it, which takes a little bit of getting used to. But once you're able to wrap your ears around the somewhat bizarre sound of that record, it is very rewarding. Very rewarding. Walt Wheat, my wiseacre companion in Anti-Scene, wants to know if the covers are similar in a homoerotic sense. I'll leave it up to you. I remember the good old days of Bill Clinton. Don't ask, don't tell. What else did I pick up in my travels to and from Charlotte, North Carolina? Well, I'll tell you this right now, guys. One of my regular stops on that long, long drive on the 81 corridor between here and there, between hither and yon, is a really cool shop called Wonder Skates. It's in the great town of Harrisonburg, Virginia. It's run by my pal Elliot. It's a record store, skate shop, instrument shop, gear shop. In other words, I can go in there and spend a lot of time poking around. And I always seem to find some cool records there, including, okay, you guys want to talk about Dark Horse Records? All right, this is for you. Okay, this is for you. Andy Miller, Walt Wheat, James Pogo, Mike Lesser. What do you think of this? Peter Frampton, The Art of Control. I want to see if we get any likes, loves, hearts, fists, angry faces, sneers, yellow ribbons, some kind of reaction for The Art of Control by Peter Frampton. I've been looking for this record for a long time. Real long time, right? We got a couple of huggy emoji, whatever they call them, emojis these days. Mike Lesser says that the empty house has made me crazy. Maybe crazier, because I remember this album came out. I remember a friend of mine bought it when it came out. He was probably the only person who bought it when it came out. He brought it over to my house. We listened to it. We both agreed it was weird, and that was kind of the end of it. And I'm looking at the comments, and I see it's pretty much a clean slate. Nobody's really heard this record. Very interesting. I heard, besides that one single time when it came out, and I dismissed it as weird, somewhere randomly I heard a song from this album on the radio. I couldn't even begin to tell you where or when it was, but it stuck in my mind for years because it was kind of new wavy, but it had really dark lyrics about being strung out on drugs and hitting rock bottom. And I haven't studied the lyric sheet 100% all the way, but I did glance through it quickly, and there were a lot of songs about the pitfalls of rock stardom and how much life sucks, and he doesn't want to wake up in the morning, and it's not quite what you would expect from Peter Frampton. Mike Lesser wants to know what year it was. It was 84, I think? 83? A&M did date their records. I think it's 82. I need new cheaters. These aren't doing the job no mo. 82. 1982. It's on the classic late 70s, early 80s A&M label. It's got all kinds of computer-generated graphics. It's kind of like that Village People record. Nobody wanted to buy a Peter Frampton record where Peter Frampton looked like that. Very new wavy. Probably scared a lot of people away. New wave scared away a lot of people. It scared away Village People fans. It scared away Peter Frampton fans. But I've been wanting to hear this record from start to finish in a real long time. For a real long time. Hopefully when I play it again, it is still weird. And it is still new wavy. And it is still dark. The next time I'm in a room with a turntable and I can play it, I'll let you know. Take a swig of that. Yes, as Mike Lesser said, there's record contracts and you owe one more. It seems like you always end up owing the record company one more record. One more. I think Peter Frampton was a pretty good example of a guy whose career was managed almost to death. It's kind of funny. I was at another one of my favorite record shops today, the Archive in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And they are very heavy on the movie and video side. They actually reissue a lot of really cool stuff on Blu-ray, DVD, and even VHS. And they had in their used VHS section the infamous, ill-fated, almost universally reviled movie starring Peter Frampton, starring Barry, Robin, and Morris, the Bee Gees, and George Burns and Steve Martin. Yes, the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band movie. They had it. They had a sealed copy on VHS for not one, not two, but $3. $3. And I held that thing in my hand, and I looked at it, and I thought, you know, $3, it's supposed to be really bad. And it's sealed. Should I? Should I? Will I? And then I started to read the synopsis on the back. And I said, no, I can't. It's not even funny. And just put it back on the shelf. So apologies to my pals down at the Archive. I did not buy the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band sealed VHS for $3. And here I am bad-mouthing it on Tent Talks Tunes, so I don't know what the odds are of you ever selling it. Sorry. But, you know, occasionally a man just has to be truthful. I just have to be truthful. I do. But I did get other cool things while I was down there, which I will show you momentarily. Now, even though I'm living in an empty house, and my goal is to have nothing but a single van load of stuff when it's time to move, I did walk into a thrift store a few days ago. Yes, I did. Now, to be fair, let's be fair about this. I was donating a lot of stuff. I had several crates full of things that I didn't want to take with me to North Carolina, but were too good to throw away. So I took them to the thrift shop. Made a nice donation. Of course, while I was there, I did have to go into the thrift store and just kind of look around a little bit, because it's a sort of a habit I've got, you know, I can't help it, you know. Luckily, the pickings were really slim. There really weren't any good records to be had. There were no cassette decks to be had. None of those awesome plastic stackable record crates that bring me tremendous joy whenever I see one. You know the ones I'm talking about? They're like milk crates, but bigger, custom made to fit LPs, and they're stackable. I would almost rather find one of them than a cool record, because I love those things. So none of that, and I was pretty much done with it, and I walked out, but I saw out the corner of my eye some 78 RPM records, and it was the usual garbage. Glenn Miller, Bing Crosby, Bob Crosby, and whoa, hold on a second, I saw the name on the spine, even though it's kind of hard to read, in gold on red and very aged and worn out, a little bit dirty. But I saw that spine, and it caught my eye, and I immediately reached over and grabbed a genuine, original record album. And you'll notice that it is an album. All right, opens up. You got one leaf with a record in it. Hold on a second, I don't want to spill the stuff on my lap. Another leaf with a record in it, and so on. Yes, it's an album. All you young whippersnappers out there who ever wonder why it's called a record album, it's because of this. A genuine original vintage record album of Russ Columbo. And you might say, Tent, I know you're an old creep, but do you really like stuff that old? Some old 1930s era crooner? A contemporary of Bing Crosby? Why would you grab a Russ Columbo record, for God's sake? Because of a TPOS release. Specifically this one right here. TPOS number 232, Tiny Tim, Prisoner of Love. Can you read the fine print? A tribute to Russ Columbo. Oh, Russ Columbo, Tiny Tim's favorite singer. And you never find Russ Columbo records in the wild. Russ Columbo was indeed a rival to Bing Crosby and I think Rudy Vallee, but he was killed in an absolute, like, just, you wouldn't even believe that such a thing could happen, freak accident, cutting his career very short. So he didn't record nearly the number of sides as his contemporaries. But what he did put out was short and sweet, and Tiny Tim loved him, and Tiny Tim did that entire album of Russ Columbo songs. And this must have been, I don't know if this is the album, but it has like 5 of the songs on the Tiny Tim record. It's got Save the Last Dance for Me, Sweet and Lovely, the title track, Prisoner of Love, Paradise, and Auf Wiedersehen, My Dear, and Good Night, Sweetheart. So 6 of the songs on this Russ Columbo album are on Tiny Tim's Prisoner of Love. So I had to get it. It was 50 cents. I had to get it. Mike Lesser says, great find. Thank you, Mike. I must agree. I was really, really happy to find that. And I can totally justify it by saying, well, you know, I gave the thrift shop several crates of stuff, and all I came out with was one vintage 78 RPM record. So, you know, the net loss in space far outweighed the net gain, so it's okay. And, you know, it also gave me an opportunity to advertise a TPOS product, which if y'all haven't bought this by now, you really should. Tiny Tim himself said this is the best album he ever recorded, and I believe it. Look at that beautiful purple-gray vinyl with splashes of pink. People who think that Tiny Tim was a joke or a novelty act need to listen to this album. He was a man devoted to his craft, who genuinely loved the great crooners of the 20s and 30s and even the 40s, and pays absolutely adoring tribute to Russ Columbo on this record with a very tastefully orchestrated backing, acoustically recorded. It's got the ambience and the sound of a real, perfectly mic'd room, and Tiny Tim just singing his heart out. I love this record. I really love this record. And it, of course, is available from me directly, or my Discogs, or my eBay store. Mark Irvin has a comment. Yeah, man, Mark says he's glad he's caught this episode. Glad to have you on board, Mark. It's been too long, man, too long. Bob Eaton says he's been seeing a lot of 8-track tapes at the thrift stores. Oh, Bob, don't say that to me, man. Don't say that. You will make me go to the thrift shop. Don't make me do it. Please. I'm begging you. How about this? Now, you guys know, and I've shown a few things. I'll show another thing, and then I'll show another thing, and then another thing, which we'll get to in a minute. This is an exercise in scale. Picked this up at Far Out Records in Hickory, North Carolina. Hello, Far Out. This record was truly a formative punk rock experience for yours truly. I bought this album brand new when it came out in 1978. At that time, I had heard Devo. I bought the first album, Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. And I shortly thereafter went to Specs Music in the Westland Mall at Hialeah, Florida, looking through their new wave section, or actually it was still called a punk rock section, which had about 15 records in it. And this was one of them. And, you know, the cover caught my eye. The hype sticker saying, "This record's yellow," caught my eye. The back cover caught my eye. The fact that it had a song that was 1 minute and 9 seconds long completely fried my brain. And the fact that they had a keyboard player. Aha, a keyboard player. I wonder if they sound like Devo. I'll pay the $6.49 and find out. So I paid the $6.49, took it home, opened it up, saw the stunningly beautiful opaque yellow vinyl. Now this one's a promotional copy, as you can see by the text on the label. Mine was not a promo, mine was stock. Man, I'd never seen vinyl that looked like that before. And when I dropped the needle in the groove, I'd never heard a record that sounded like that before. This was the fastest dang music I had ever heard in my life. I couldn't believe that a band could play this fast and still be coherent and have melodies and guitar solos and keyboard solos and everything unbelievably fast. And I think that even now, with genres like grindcore and blurcore and splattercore and, you know, ultra hardcore or whatever, I will still stack this album up as being the fastest album, the fastest music, the fastest band ever committed to vinyl. And the fact that they did it in 1978, doubly incredible. So I was very happy to find this at Far Out Records in Hickory. Thank you, Brent, at Far Out, for hooking me up. And if anybody wants this record, you can thank me because I can hook you up. The price is right. Just let me know, yo. And if I still had a record player and a hi-fi setup, I would have been blasting this until the neighbors called the cops. Man, what a great album. Anyway, The Incredible Shrinking Dickies, but it is a full-sized LP. That's why all you people out there with sharp eyes will appreciate this next thing I'm going to show you. After I take a swig here. Somebody once told me that humor is based on scale. Humor is based on scale. And actually, that's a fairly good example on the front and back cover of this awesome Dickies record. It's all about scale, you know, the relationship with the size of the pencil and the toothbrush to the dudes. So maybe you people can appreciate the humor of the scale of a regular LP and this. What on earth is that? It is a tiny little whipped cream and other delights. Oh my stars, what is this guy doing to us? Showing us a little tiny copy of whipped cream and other delights. Tell you guys, just when I think I've seen everything, just when I thought I was the man who owned everything, just when I thought that my jaded cynicism couldn't get any deeper or any worse, I walk into a record store in Bethel, Connecticut, or as the local high schoolers call it, Bethel. I rather like Bethel. I'm just going local. Pardon me while I brush some dust off of my hoodie. Seriously. Is that what Bob Eaton was talking about earlier? Anyway, thought I'd seen it all, but I'd never seen the 6-song, 7-inch jukebox EP for Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Now, we all know this record. Everybody's seen probably a million of them. I sent out an APB bulletin to my fellow record dealers that I wanted as many copies of the Whipped Cream album as I could possibly get my hands on without paying for them. And my fellow record dealers rallied to the cause, and I believe I have about 400 of them now. And I'm working on a special art project involving multiple copies of Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Oddly enough, I've sold a couple along the way too, because people just, they just love that album cover. Tell me it's not a classic album cover. It's probably why it sold so many. I know at least one couple who bought it from me because they framed it and hung it on their wall. There you go. Mission accomplished. But man, I got about 400 of them. Full-length albums. Never in all my born days, though, did I see a 7-inch EP version of it. So I actually paid money for this one. I paid $3 for it. Thank you, Dennis. And I'm going to add this to my collection of Whipped Cream and Other Delights because, as you can imagine, when you collect that many of a certain title, you start to get the weird variants. Oh, man, I've got like probably 7 or 8 different weird variants of Whipped Cream and Other Delights. I think I showed them all on Tent Talks Tunes once a couple of years ago. If you go to my YouTube channel and search the archive, you'll probably find the episode where I go through all my different variants of Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Fascinating stuff for record collector geeks like myself. Like yourself. Like all of us. Amen and mazel tov. My goodness gracious, I found a lot of really cool things. But you know what? I'm going to take a slight detour from showing you what I've picked up in the field. To showing you a couple of things I've gotten in the mail. It's been a very slow mail month. Which is fine because of the move and all the road work and the fact that I haven't been doing Tent Talks Tunes. But in spite of that, I have gotten a couple of things. Sent to my still current address. A lot of people have been asking. The answer is yes, I'm still taking mail in Connecticut. P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut 06470. Still taking mail, and will be taking mail at this address for the foreseeable future. So if y'all wanted to know where to send me stuff, that is where. Until further notice. This comes from my pal Stan Bowman in Springfield, Missouri. Stan is a man with excellent taste. He's put out a few good records and releases in his day. He put out a record by Guaranteed Catch, which I didn't know about. And if you want to know about Guaranteed Catch, drop me a line. I'll be happy to tell you all about them. They have an awesome record called In a Sumptuous Brown Gravy. And I asked Stan Bowman once if he knew who they were, and he said, dude, I put out one of their records. Enough said. Stan's got good taste. So he sent me something in an envelope, and the envelope is still sealed. Still sealed envelope. So we're going to have a cold reveal right now. We're going to open this thing up with the 3 Mile box cutter. Let's see here. Reuben Wright says that he worked briefly with a lady who played, he thinks, French horn on the Whipped Cream album. Wow, that's a thing. That's definitely a thing. I wonder if she knew that her French horn work was going to be in every household in the US of A, with or without a record player in the early 1960s. Man, she's famous and nobody knew it. Anyway, what's in the envelope? We're going to find out. Let's see what's the best way to do this here. Without damaging the contents, because it is well packaged. All right. If you guys couldn't see that, maybe you could hear that. The sound of the blade going across the packing tape. We're now opening the envelope. Cold reveal, guys. I don't know what's in here. We casually toss the envelope to the side, because that's the way I roll. Looks like it's a CD of some sort and some bubble wrap. Open it up. Love the way that sounds. Andy Miller says that a member of Guaranteed Catch was in Upside Down Cross. Didn't know that. What hardcore band were those guys in? They were in a hardcore band in the 80s, but I forget which one it was. Andy Miller, do you know? We need to know. We're going to open this up, man. Get this bubble wrap off of y'all. And we're going to pull out, it is a CD, and it is, oh God, I don't know if I have the cojones, the absolute crudeness. Let's see, it says here's a tribute CD to his old band, Food Fortunata and Poopy Necropond of Sockeye are on this CD. And look at that. The main reason he wanted to get this to you is for the Guaranteed Catch song. It says they took their little comedy song and made it into a 20-minute doom metal improv jam. Speak of Guaranteed Catch and they will appear. So yes, I talked about Stan Bowman, which led to Guaranteed Catch, which led to him sending me a tribute CD to his old band, Vaginal Discharge, which features a 20-minute Guaranteed Catch song on it. Oh boy, that is a thing. Stan Bowman, thank you very much. As mentioned before, my house is empty, but the car has a CD player. Yes, the car has a CD player. Anything with Guaranteed Catch, Food Fortunata, Poopy Necropond, and Stan Bowman's old band has got to be good, or at bare minimum, crude. Maybe good and crude. Ida, no. The second object that I found in my P.O. Box, which, by the way, in case anybody was wondering, P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. Well, you see the size and you see the shape of this thing, so you can probably guess what's in it. This is from my pal Jason in Bryan, Texas. Jason sent this thing to me, what is it, postmarked September 13th, over a month ago. So Jason, here it is. I got it. I've been sitting on it until I had a chance to do it live on Tent Talks Tunes. So let's break out the 3 mile box cutter and put a few more inches on it and do a cold reveal. A cold opening of the contents of this box. Now, I don't know what this is. I absolutely do not know anything about this. Jason has pegged my taste before. He sent me some stuff in the past. I make a lot of cassettes for Jason. He puts together playlists and I record them on cassette. And I must admit, it's a really cool and interesting learning experience. Like, if it weren't for Jason, I never would have known about Purple Drank. I never would have known about Screwed DJ remixes. I never would have known about Magnolia Slim. I'm just an old Caucasian rocker. You know, in a lot of ways, my horizons are a little bit limited. But Jason in Bryan, Texas, turned me on to some cool stuff. So thank you, Jason. Can't wait to see what's on the next batch of tapes I'm going to make for you. And then this is not an album. Que Misterioso. We thought it was an album. I thought it was an album, but it's not an album. It's about 8 by 10 sized. It's wrapped in plastic. What is it? We're finding out live here on Tent Talks Tunes. Uh-oh, something fell out. Hold on a minute. Something fell out. Got to pick it up. Well, right off the bat, one of the heavier objects that fell out is this wonderful, because Jason knows I'm a coin collector, Mexican 50 centavo piece. 50 centavos. Yes. It's got the scalloped edge. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the edge is not perfectly round. It's scalloped. And it's got a nice ring to it, too. And it's got the classic, almost incused looking 70s Mexican national eagle. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but I love that eagle design. The eagle on the cactus eating the snake. That used to really enchant me and entrance me when I was a kid. I could look at that thing for a long time. So right off the bat, we're doing good. Oh, lordy, it's a Devo trading card. Yes, Devo trading card on one side, Super Mario Brothers on the other, and a whole bunch of trading cards. Oh, wait, look at this. Now, Jason knows. I don't know what this sticker is from, but one of those awesome old Red Fox party records from the 50s and 60s. Yes, Jason's got me pegged. The Working in the Coal Mine 7-inch single that came with original pressings of New Traditionalists by Devo. And one of the, I can see right now, he knows my sense of the absurd. This is the actual trading cards of Terrorist Attack from the 90s. Featuring, let's see. We got all kinds of, yes, the winning card right there. Goodbye. By the Piedmont Candy Company, 1987. Absolutely tasteless. Absolutely in bad taste. Completely, utterly absurd. Does anybody even remember Mad Dog Gaddafi? I barely did until I saw this card. So yes, thank you, Jason, for pandering to my sense of the ridiculous by sending me these cards. And Devo and a coin for my collection. I salute you, sir. Many thanks. Whew, I still got a few things to show, but I'm kind of running out of time here. I've been here for almost an hour, and you guys are stuck with me, which I really appreciate. But as happens so often on Tent Talks Tunes, the old larynx is starting to get a little bit crusty from all this projective declamation for the camera so I can be heard clearly by all of you out there in internet land. So I'm going to give the old larynx a rest. I'm going to give the brain a rest. I think I'll give the whole organism a rest because the organism's kind of tired. The organism did not sleep very well last night and had to wake up early this morning. Yes, according to Ruben Wright, Jeff Clayton is watching right now. Jeff Clayton, my boss in Anti-Scene, will find it double dog, ding dang, hilarious. I had to set my alarm for 8 o'clock this morning. And that it was punishing. It was harsh. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was torture, but it was rough. To be awake at 8 o'clock in the morning and then go do a full slate of activities out there in the so-called real world. So I'm tired. I'm going to be going to bed quite a bit earlier than usual tonight. Thank you very much. But thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. I got plenty more to show next week. A lot of real cool items on multiple formats. And who knows, maybe some other things in between now and then, because what's the use of having an empty house? You got to put something in it, right? Right, I know. So sue me. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise, I will be back in about 167 hours. So until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long, still, from the Nutmeg State.